Hi students, this is Miss Reese, and in this video I'm going to go over the Bill of Rights project. So let's just jump right into it. Alrighty, the Bill of Rights project you can probably find down. It's going to be, if you scroll down in our classwork far enough, you're going to see the Bill of Rights project. Now, what you are going to do to find the directions is you are going to click on the Bill of Rights choice, your choice slide, and that's going to bring you to right here. As you can see with the directions here for the next week, we will be studying the Bill of Rights. To demonstrate your mastery of the content, you will finish parts 1, 2, and 3 of this project. So, part 1 is this. You are going to show that you are able to describe the 10 amendments of the Constitution through a different visual way. So you're going to create one visual representation of the first 10 amendments by using any of the following examples we have down here. Now, what some folks have decided to do was they have made a physical picture book where on each page they do a drawing and have their explanation of each amendment. So we have this for all the different ones right here. You can, if you really like drawing or being artistic that way, that is something you can do for this. Another example of what you can do is you can make a video. We've had examples of students, they did a little animation thing. We've had other students, I have a little example linked down below here of it kind of like shows with this paper sliding in and out sort of way, how that could look. So if you want to, again, describe the 10 amendments in your own words and have some sort of visual, if you want it to be done in a video, that's another option. Probably the most popular one that I've seen is folks would make a Google slide presentation of the 10 amendments. So on each slide, you have one of the 10 amendments and you have an example of what that would look like on each individual slide. So each slide would have the definition in your own words and a picture to represent that amendment. Then you would also have a Prezi presentation. It's kind of like a Google slide, but it's a little bit different. I have linked down below here what one might look like. Also, for the Bill of Rights project, if you have something completely different that you want to do, feel free to do so. Just ask me in advance. I have had students who have done puppet shows. I've seen students do things like make little hanging mobiles explaining the 10 amendments, different origami like sort of things. If you have something interesting, be creative with it. I'd love to go about and see what ideas you have. Now, I understand that if you ever read the 10 amendments in their original language, they can be a little tricky. So what I did to help with that, is if you go back to the Your Choice Bill of Rights project on Google Classroom, you will see the 10 amendments clarification slides. If you open that up, what I did was I included on here links and a little mini descriptions of each of the amendments in order to help you kind of understand a little bit what all they include. So some of the slides actually have 2 videos in case you want one or the other to help with that. And I pretty much put this just because I understand sometimes they're very difficult to understand. So if you find yourself ever stuck on one of the amendments, like, oh, I'm not quite sure, what does a warrant mean for the Fourth Amendment? Or I'm not quite sure on what due process is. That will be explained in any of these slides right here. So that's an option for you. Another thing I want to point out is I also attached a rubric to this project, and your rubric shows you how I am going to be grading each of these parts. So for part 1, half of what I'm grading you on is your amendment description. In order to get a perfect score, the description for all 10 amendments needs to be accurate, or in other words, correct. It talks about what it should. So half of your grade will be all about the description. Remember, it's in your own words. We're not plagiarizing. We're not taking from another source without giving them credit. First part is all about the description. The other half of your points is going to come from the visual you choose. So the visuals for all of the amendments are appropriate, which means they follow school expectations and rules of behavior. And just like beforehand, they are accurate, so they fit it well. So those are kind of my 2 general big expectations for the visuals and the descriptions. And I also want to point out for folks who are going to do the Google Slide or the Prezi option. When you pick a picture from the internet, it can't just be the definition of the amendment itself, but in a fancy font. It needs to be a picture or a cartoon or a person or places, something that visually shows. I like to think of it this way. A visual should explain to someone what the amendment is if that person could not read. So if that person could not read, would they be able to see your visual and understand what the amendment means? So that's kind of my little description for your visual right there. So this is all part one, and this is how I am grading part one. Let me go back and I'll show you part two. Part two is a little simpler. What I have here is I have 4 different articles, all from the website Newsela. What you are going to do is you are going to select one of these 4 options, and you are going to answer the questions that go along with that option. So for example, our first one right here, this is an article all about Native Americans and the freedom of religion. This deals with one of the amendments on the Bill of Rights. What you are going to do, if this is the option you choose, is you are going to click on the article. Newsela might ask you to make an account. If you do so, just log on through Google, through your school's Google account. You do not need to sign up for a class in order to read the articles. Now, something that's nice about Newsela is you can change the Lexile reading number for it. So this is automatically set to 930, but if you are good, you're a strong reader, and you feel you can handle something more challenging, you can go higher to the maximum level or to the step above that. Now, if instead you are reading the article and you find that it's just far too challenging, you can drop down to a lower level and try if that helps you that way. So you are going to read the article, and then you answer the questions down below. And you do this by making a copy of this slide. You hit entire presentation, you put your own name, and there you will be able to type in your answers here. So as I said, you have 4 different options of what you want to do with. The first one deals with Native Americans and religion. The second one deals with the First Amendment and what it protects and what it does not protect. The third one deals with physical punishment in schools and one of the amendments that that deals with. And the last one is about the use of firearms and protests surrounding that. This one is actually 2 separate articles that look at the topic from 2 different perspectives. So those are your options for part 2 of the project. Now, part 3 of the project. This is all about the Supreme Court and how it handles the Bill of Rights. So what you are going to do is you are going to research one of the Supreme Court cases listed below, and you are going to respond to questions about it on here. So you are going to pick one of these court cases. You're going to do a little research on it. I have linked here the Bill of Rights Institute.org. That's a really good source to learn more about the cases. Then on the next slide, you're going to put up at the top the name of the Supreme Court case and the year that it happened. Then you're going to put a summary, and it needs to be in your own words, of that Supreme Court case. So who was it dealing it with? What were they arguing in the courts? What were the opposing sides? Be as detailed as you can in your summary. And then what is the amendment dealing with? So what number was it? 1 through 10, which one was it? And what does that amendment deal with? Be a little descriptive with that. Okay, on the second slide, up at the top, you put the outcome of the case. So what did the court rule on for this case? Which side did they agree with? How did this impact laws and the similar situations going forward? And then this bottom part right here is, do you agree with the outcome and why? So do you think that the Supreme Court justices made the right decision? Do you think they didn't make the right decision? Would you have ruled differently? That's what you are going to answer with that. Now, similar to part 1, I have a rubric for parts 2 and 3, and they both actually look the same because I'm grading them both on the same 2 qualities, accuracy and depth. So accuracy, just as above, is it responding to what it's supposed to? So in order to get all points for parts 2 and 3, all responses need to accurately address the prompts and ideas from the article. So did you read the articles? Did you do your research from a very good source? And is all the information about that article or about that Supreme Court case, are they correct? And then the other question is depth. Are your responses well thought out and show excellent critical thinking skills? So again, this is why we don't just put yes or no or just one word answers. This shows that you are critically thinking. So this goes back to, again, when it talks about what are the outcomes of a Supreme Court case. What are the long-term outcomes? Not just what did they decide to rule on, but how does this impact folks later on? That's something to think about. If you agree or disagree, why do you agree or disagree? What does it go against certain values you have, or that sort of thing. So again, go in as much depth as you can with your responses, and that will ensure you the highest score. So once you are done with parts 1, 2, and 3, you can submit them to Google Classroom and turn them in for your score. Of course, if you ever have any questions, you can just ask me in class, and I would love to help you out. So if you have anything, just feel free to ask. Otherwise, have a great one, students.